Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Devil May Cry 4 on Legendary Dark Knight difficulty, and this is my guide for that difficulty. So, in the Soldier's Graveyard here, you're going to have a lot of Mephistos here. I don't know how many there is. I do know that really good strategies to deal with these guys are to use the Charge Shot level 3 as well as the Snatch to get them down, and then you want to try to grab the fallen bodies that come out of the cloak once they're disrobed. And if you're likely to get attacked, grab and then double trigger DT cancel. That's a really good way of doing it. And move from side to side. That's what I found. You can smash the gravestones for health should you need some. And we have a couple of fallen bodies here. So it's kind of debatable what's the better strategy, using the Snatch or using the Buster. When I talk about the Buster, you should know that what I'm talking about is just going up to them and pressing the B button, and then using the left bumper plus the B button is the actual grab at a distance. It's called the Snatch. So what I do is I continually charge my gun while moving around the environment, taking the camera off the enemies by moving away from them and then centering the camera. And a pretty tough battle. This was as far as I got when I first played Devil May Cry 4 on this particular difficulty, and it wasn't because I couldn't beat the fight. I beat the fight, but it just seemed like I was going through the motions and I wasn't getting better as a player, when I think the opposite is true. Like this difficulty, you're fighting a lot of enemies at the same time, and you invariably will figure out a way to deal with every situation, and even different combinations that you wouldn't see on the normal campaign. So you are, for lack of a better way to put it, you are teaching yourself how to play the game while playing this harder difficulty. And I don't know too many good Exceed attacks to do on them, and that's why I would stay away from doing those attacks if I were you. The Exceed High Roller seems pretty good for those guys, but nothing beats the Snatch. It's just the definitive way I feel to take care of these guys. And then once you kill them, there's a gold orb. Do you see it up there? There's a gold orb up there, which I'm not going to be getting because I already have 3 of them, and if I went up there and tried to grab it, it just wouldn't let me collect it. There is a large red orb on one of the walkways up there. It's worth 1,000. But what I'm going to do after this battle is I'm just going to have an edit, and then when I resume, it'll be on the same footage, but it will be me having got all the collectibles around here, all the pickups, smashing all the destructible objects. And I'm sorry, my nose is a little stuffy. It's just intolerably hot in my room. It's 10 degrees hotter than every other room in the house at any given time. So even in winter, I'm never entirely happy. So we're almost done with this fight, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave in less of smashing objects, because what it ends up doing is eating a lot of extra time, and the smaller the file that I could produce, the better here, because they get to be extremely long. Like video number 2, it took 18 hours to upload that thing, and it doesn't even matter to me ultimately, because I just do it while I'm sleeping, and then when I woke up, it took like 6 hours beyond when I even woke up. Interestingly, there's no enemies in this room. Fucking goddamn kids. Let me close the window a little bit. Goddamn fucking kids. And where's my glass of water? So when you come in here, we're going to be above the torture chamber, but you can neither get hit by the spikes on the ceiling, nor can you fall to the bottom. So I think I even try to demonstrate that over here. Oh, the fuck was that? Oh, that was just a very quick transition. So there's that cache of orbs, and there's a holy water. Then we'll be falling down here, getting cutscene, which I edited out. And we'll have a large bunch of these guys dropping into the bottom of this cell down here. This circular cell. A lot of these guys easily get interrupted in your combos, though. So I personally feel the best thing to do on these guys is the X streak. And you should always be striving to get the max act. Another thing about this guide is I'm not going to be fleeing from battles. So for instance, there's I think there was a couple of optional fights in the previous chapter that I did. Yeah, it was on chapter 3, Fortuna Castle, and that's the guidelines for this guide. No item usage, no fleeing from battles, and no revving the sword. It's either a max act or a bust. But that doesn't mean I won't try to get the max act 10 or 20 times in a row if I have to, because a level 1 exceed is not as powerful as a level 3, and you can't do as much damage. So if you don't have the max act, you can when you try to strike it, like, you know how you try to strike it when you press the button, like it's kind of like a flint action with a lighter. You're trying to strike at the correct time. You can always do one rev, but you need the max act to enable you to get up to level 3 instantaneously. And I think that was a great decision of them to incorporate an ability such as that. Because otherwise the player has to go through the monotony of revving it up. But anyway, in here we have a mandatory fight versus some Bianco Angelos, as well as a few blades. Now, on this particular take, I did get them to shoot the projectile at me, which is the ideal situation because you dispatch enemies instantly. They're instantly killed. A lot of them are, and you get a style point up to the highest it can be. But it took me a long time to get them to do it. As long as there are 3 of them, they could potentially do it. Those are the summon swords, by the way, with the double trigger. If you press the gun button attack, whatever you have it mapped to, you can do the summon swords, but you have to be in double trigger mode. So we have a couple of the blades. The blades are those wildebeest kind of animals that you see. They love to guard from the front, so jump over them and buster them from the back. And if you don't think you can jump quickly enough, because a lot of the times the javelin will go into me before I can have it go through me, literally. If you get into a scenario like that, just DT cancel. Okay, so we've weaned the numbers down a little bit, and now I believe they're going to try to shoot me in a group attack, like right over here. So I was waiting for this the entire time. I figured at the beginning of the spawn it's just too many of them for them to be able to do it. So how many are there at this point? There's like 6 of them. Okay, so we sent it back. We dispatched all of those. We dispatched like 5 enemies in a row, or at a single instance, and we just have this guy left. And he is deceased. I missed that goddamn cutscene. It's so easy to miss these. But this is the optional fight that I mentioned versus the Frosts. Now this fight I had to actually append to the guide because I'm unused to games that don't autosave, and this game doesn't autosave in the middle of chapters. So I accidentally had a situation occur where I had to restart the level because I restarted my computer because it had some updates to install. And it was entirely my fault. I don't let the computer update automatically because if they did that, then it would complicate a lot of my plans that I do on the internet, such as uploading and keeping things open. So this is the last guy here. Hard enemies to launch. I believe you need to do the charge shot level 3 to launch those guys. And then we'll come down here and do what I think is called a suplex. When you're running and you've gained speed, then you press the select button or whatever button you have mapped for the action that is the taunt, which for me is up on the D-pad. And then we'll come in here. You might notice that I've destroyed all the breakable objects. Then we're going to use the springboard to get up here, interact with the cable, and then we'll be running down here getting a small healing item, and we'll be ushered into chapter 6, a chapter that you either loathe or you like. I actually like it at this point, so that's that.